listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level. Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the variety show live here on Business Talk Radio and social media. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life, career, meditation, and yoga coach. And with me today is my co-host, Lori Mendelsohn. Lori, welcome to the program.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am very good, thank you.
Have you warmed up there? It's so cold where you live.
We have warmed up. It got to the 40s this week. I was actually wearing a pair of sandals the other day.
Sandals in 40. I love it. That's how did that feel?
It's toasty for us. When it gets to be 50, it's too hot for us. So
you know, it's interesting. I was speaking to somebody I interviewed. They lived in Texas and they had 4 feet of snow, and now it's 80. So they have all that snow and ice that's melting. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, it's horrible. It's like a big mud pile. And then when it at night here, it freezes over. So we have skating rinks in all of our driveways. It's very fun to walk dogs in that, in this environment.
Yeah, but you keep smiling, keep laughing. I love that about you.
Thank you.
You brought us a really great guest today. Tell us about Meg and how you know her.
Well, I met Meg through one of her associates, and Meg and I are both on a clubhouse call that I hostess, every Sunday morning for singles over 50, the inside job. And we met really through this gentleman named Don. And the minute that we had a phone conversation, we did a Zoom together. I had a girl crush on this woman. She just knocked it out of the park for me. Her energy, her expertise, her whole demeanor just lit up my room. And I am so excited that she's going to be with us today.
You really nailed it, because I felt the same way when I met her as when I met you. Like, just tremendous energy, positivity, just radiating from her. So I think that's amazing. So that's a big plus for Clubhouse. So we're not paid spokespersons for Clubhouse, but Clubhouse is interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I'm making connections all over the world. It's really mind-boggling. The classes that I'm taking, the things that I'm sitting in on, and the things that I'm learning. I did a Kabbalistic meditation that was hosted from Israel the other night. It is an amazing platform, and I think it's just going to explode and explode and explode. I'm worried it's just going to get too crowded and people are going to get lost. So, we'll figure that out as we go along. But
right,
really phenomenal.
And that platform is relatively new, as I understand. I think it was established sometime last year, but it didn't really get popular until December, according to one of the newbie classes that I sat in on when I had my party hat. But let's not wait any longer. Let's bring Meg out, because I know we are going to hear some really important information and have some fun. It's Friday night. Welcome, Meg.
Hi, it's so good to be here. Thank you both.
It's so great to have you. I just knew, as I mentioned, just as soon as I saw you backstage, you just have that glow about you, and you're just so positive. Tell us about Meg and what you do.
Sure. And thank you for the compliments. I appreciate that. It's such a gift. I am Meg Burton Tudman, and I'm on a mission to support superwomen, just like both of you, just like I'm sure so many women watching tonight, to honor their highest selves. And right now, my specialty is supporting women in aligning their mind, body, and spirit so that they are empowered to live a life that they love. And I weave mindset, meditation, yoga, and Reiki into online coaching programs into wellness workshops, corporate events, and also wellness articles.
That's fascinating. And, I love the fact, not just because we're all women, but women have an even more important role than ever, right? And we're not going to be kept back, put down, pushed aside. Look out, we are coming through, right?
Yes, I absolutely love that. And what I think is so awesome, and it brings me so much joy when I see this for my clients, is that we have all this potential as women. Every woman does. It's not that, only some of us are born with it and others aren't. We have all this potential. And I think if we can just master or harness our mindset, and there's practice there, and that takes energy and effort, of course, but if we can master that, we are truly unstoppable. I mean, there is no limit to the impact that we can have and the difference that we can make. And I think that is so exciting and something absolutely worth celebrating.
Well said. What do you each think it takes for someone to find themselves or find their lane? Meg, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. I think that there is a process of inner work that's required. I think that starting to kind of almost like an onion, peel away layer by layer so that we can get to the core of who we are. And I think especially as women, and especially as women in the United States, we tend to take on external roles and take on external definitions of ourselves that other people are putting on us. And in a way, it feels comfortable because, well, I don't have to make the decision. This is just who I am. And it's interesting when we peel those things away. Well, who are you without the labels? Who are you at your core? What really matters? What are those, intrinsic and inherent skills and strengths that you have that make up you? And then what do you need to be doing from a conscious action standpoint to really honor your truth, your highest self, so that when you show up in any one of those roles or, any one of those labels that somebody's defined for you, you're really showing up as your highest self and you're showing up fully.
Really valid, really good points. It sounds like you're talking about self-love and self-care.
Oh, so much. There's so much of that. Absolutely. And I think as women, we are really hesitant to invest in that. I think a lot of times we feel like it's selfish for me to take care of myself, or it's selfish for me to put myself first. And, I would encourage anybody who is struggling with that, or even, pondering that, to test it and see what happens if you take 5 minutes to breathe deeply before you show up for a meeting, or before you pick your kids up for school, or before you go on a date, or whatever the case may be, and notice the difference in how you're able to show up, how you're able to be of service, how you feel internally and externally, and then start to, incorporate those small shifts in ways to take care of yourself, show yourself compassion, show yourself love.
Fantastic. I love that.
Love everything that you just said, Meg.
Right on.
I'm so drawn to you, and that's why I have such a big girl crush on you.
I have one now too. We'll have to share her. So, Lori, what are your thoughts about it?
No, but I'd like to add to that too, and I think a lot of it is so intuitive what we really need to do, but we have these outside forces that are telling us, nah, you really shouldn't be doing that, or no, you have to put others first, and you've got to take care of things. And I don't really like the word self-care. It sounds just like a hokey industry to me now. I think self-care is to me, self-protection, that I set boundaries. If something doesn't work for me, I will say, I'd love to do it. I'd love to help, but I don't have the time. I'm honored that you asked me to do that, or join you, or assist you. I think as women, I think that we're so expected to always be able to juggle so many balls and do so many things and be so many things to so many people and wear so many hats, that we lose ourselves sometimes, and it takes sometimes, like you said, Meg, some really deep diving into what makes us tick, who we are, what gives us joy, and what is our true passion. You know, some of us are born with that knowledge. I knew when I was little I was going to be a fashion designer. There was no doubt about it. I knew it. I followed that path. I did it. But some people are not quite as lucky, unfortunately. But I think women really do also need to support each other in helping us grow to that level that we know that we can follow our passions.
Thank you for sharing that. And I like your thoughts about self-care and how that's really maybe a lot of hooey, so to speak, right? And you also talked about boundaries. And what I'm wondering, because I struggle with this for a long time, it's hard to say no to someone. And somebody I dated for a long time, he said, you know, it's just as easy to say yes. If you can say yes. So for most of my life, I would say yes, yes, yes. In the meantime, you're frustrated because you don't have the time, you don't have the resource, and now you're juggling. What are your thoughts about saying no? Like Lori, you just said, like saying no, I can't do it now. Meg?
I love that. And there's a quote, and I'm drawing a blank on who said it. It was not me. But it's something along the lines of every no is a yes to something else. Or you could take it the reverse. Every yes is a no to something else. So if you find yourself always saying yes to, you know, the external demands, then in that case, the no is probably to honoring the boundary or taking care of yourself, or to Lori's point, protecting yourself. And for me, that was such a helpful way to look at different opportunities that presented themselves. Well, I can say yes, and it means this. And if I say yes, that's actually going to be saying no to X, Y, Z. And is that okay with me? And sometimes it is okay. And sometimes then I think that gives you the opportunity, kind of the moment to pause and say, well, wait a minute, that's actually not okay with me. So I'm going to either have to figure out a way to create some balance between those two things, or, you know, back off a little bit on whatever the particular opportunity or situation is.
And Meg and Lori, do you find, this is just way out there, but do you find it's more challenging to say no to a man or to a woman in general?
Oh, wow.
That's a great.
That is a great question.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, let's hear it.
Okay, so I think there's a way of saying no to both sexes, but it's a very different way. I think what works for me with men is I find that if I preface it by saying I would love to do that, but I just can't. I have other commitments. But I'd love to do it X date or X time. Would you be available then? To a woman, all you need to say is, I can't, I'm full. I don't have time for me. I can't breathe anymore. The first one is more of a sandwich technique. You know, it's you're great, you're wonderful. I can't, but I'd love to, you know, the nose in the middle, the meat of the sandwich. But I think a woman just understands intuitively when we say we're busy, we're full, they get it. No big deal. They don't take it hard or personally.
Thank you. Meg, what about you?
Lori, I think that's really interesting. I would describe myself as a recovering people pleaser. So I don't know that there's a difference between how, if it's hard to say no to one or the other. But I agree with Lori. I think the approach is different. I think how I would frame it for a woman would be different than how I would frame it for a man. And what I think is so interesting is that there may be sort of like a camaraderie or like almost like the sisterhood between women where, well, I know she's going to get it. If I just say my plate is full, I'm tapped out. To Lori's point, I can't breathe. You know, I need to take a step back. But I think it's interesting. That's definitely a mindset. And that's a belief that may not really be serving us well. I mean, when I think about some of the men in my life, if I were to say to them, I can't breathe, I'm sorry, I can't do it, I have to say no, I think they would totally understand. But it's interesting. I think we have this mindset going into it that they're not going to understand. I have to like sugarcoat it and, you know, do the sandwich method or treat them with kid gloves. Whereas with a woman, I can just be upfront and honest.
You guys have great perspectives. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. We have to take a break, but I know for me, I have a much more difficult time saying no to a woman than I do to a man. I really do. And I've been told by men, even in personal relationships, that I always show up as the business person. And I know I do. But with women, I have a hard time saying no because I feel like that camaraderie of women helping pick each other up, support each other. So if I had to make a choice of saying no, it would be to a man as opposed to a woman if I had to, you know, two options on the table to help somebody. That makes sense. So
I love that perspective.
Yeah, we all have very different perspectives here. It's great.
All right, we're going to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors. Stay with us here, Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the variety show, live on Business Talk Radio and social media. We'll be right back. Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back, ladies. This is such a great way to spend a Friday night, isn't it?
I love it. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. And it's interesting how fate has brought us together, or really Lori's brought us together. But before that, fate brought me to Lori. So I think we're going to do some really cool things, some collaborations together in the future. I'm excited about that. So Meg, let's talk about what you have going on Sunday. You've got something special coming up. Let's tell everybody about it.
I do. Thank you. I am leading an energy reset workshop series, and it begins on Sunday, February 28th. I led this workshop pre-COVID in person, and then figured out a way to bring it online, and led the most remarkable group of women last month. And they loved it so much. And at the end, they said, "We want you to do a series. Will you bring this back?" So I've brought it back and doing a 4-session series. And these first 4, I'm going to focus on a different chakra, so a different energy center for each workshop. So we'll do some breath work, meditation, yoga, Reiki, which is conscious energy healing, and we'll ground ourselves or focus on a different energy center for each one of those sessions. So this first one is the root chakra. So focusing a lot on feeling grounded and secure, which I think especially in this new reality, we're all craving a little bit of.
That sounds like an incredible way to spend a Sunday. First, go with Lori and what you're doing, and then with Meg. I love it.
Thank you.
It's like a Sunday reset for the rest of the week.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So who is this for, Meg? Who would be great to attend?
This is for super women. So the women who are feeling stressed and exhausted, yet are still striving for more. Women who are trying to do it all and are maybe self-sabotaging a little bit because they either have too much on their plate, and to Lori's point earlier, they maybe aren't honoring boundaries, or they are not able to show up fully because they've got a thought track or a loop or a mindset that is supporting an older version of themselves. So it's almost as if their mindset hasn't caught up with the current amazing version of themselves.
I love that. An older version of them. So where do you come up with this stuff, Meg? It's brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much. That resonates so deeply with me. And I think that even came up a little bit too on our Clubhouse chat last weekend. This idea that we can have these beliefs that might have served us well at one point. Usually it's some form of protection that we needed. And it could go all the way back, to when we were little kids. And at the time, it served us well. It was necessary. And we held on to that, even though we evolved and grew and transformed and changed. So we've got these old limiting beliefs that are basically protecting a former version of ourselves. And I think from a mindset standpoint, it is wild to think about, what are the thoughts that I have on repeat? What are the beliefs that, maybe at a time served me really well, but that really don't align with who I am anymore. I've shed that layer, or I've, moved past that. And yet we still have this, again, thought or belief that is rooted in an older version of ourselves.
Yeah. I have to share something with you ladies and everyone watching, of course. There's an analogy that I use with my coaching clients. And the analogy is that when we were little, we wore a certain pair of shoes. And, a new adulthood, we got another pair. And sometimes we bought these shoes because they were hip and they were cool, but they never really felt good on us. But when we put our feet in them, we felt kind of, hot and sassy and powerful. But those shoes are now pinching us. And when we walk in these shoes, they hurt our feet and they constrict us. And I ask my clients, why are you holding on to these shoes that don't fit anymore? I want you to think about going out and shopping for a pair that when you put it on, put the shoes on, you feel like they were made for you. They feel like they were custom tailored to your feet, and you feel like you're walking on a cloud. So do you want to stay in the old uncomfortable shoes, or do you want to put on the pillow soft shoes that will make you feel like you're flying and that you have wings? So Meg, I want to ask you, how does one start mastering mindset? How do you go from, I know this is probably 5 sessions, 5 interviews, but how do you go from Debbie Downer to, Happy Harriet? How do you start from, oh God, feeling victimized, whatever it is that people feel, to turn your head around and saying, shoes don't fit me anymore. I'm going to go find a new pair. How do you start?
Yeah. So I'm going to take one step back to then answer your question. I think that when we're talking about mindset, what we mean, and where I ground my clients with, is mindset is how we relate and respond to the world around us. And it is absolutely 100% within our power to choose what that might be. So, even in the most dire circumstances, the most unpleasant situations, we still always have a choice of how we want to, or how we choose to respond and relate to what's happening around us and within us too. So when we think about that as, our definition for mindset, I think that the first piece is the awareness piece. So to your point, Lori, and I love the shoe analogy, I think that's so helpful. Am I feeling pinched toes? Do I feel like, or do I notice that I'm feeling a certain way, or I'm thinking a certain thought, or I'm making the same decision on repeat? And so that's causing me to have the same experiences on repeat. So I think that first step is the awareness piece, and what's going on and what's the role that I'm playing. And that can be a little bit tricky, because I think we are a little bit susceptible when we start to think about that to go down the hole of self-judgment and self-criticism. And so I would encourage, anybody listening to this who is starting to do that inner work to treat it with compassion and curiosity. And the curiosity is huge. If you can swap out criticism for curiosity, you are in such an empowered space, because then it becomes almost like, an excavation. Well, let me think about this, or what if I looked at it this way? And that compassion piece is so key to really supporting yourself, to protecting yourself, and then allowing yourself to still grow and transform at the same time. So awareness first, and then from a place of curiosity and compassion, digging into what's going on behind the scenes here.
You are so well spoken. So we had an A and 2 C's. We just need a B. Articulate. We need something with a B to go the ABCs. We've got to come up with something.
We'll come up with it.
Yes. By the way, I have a hilarious shoe story, which I'll have to share with you later. It would take too long, but I promise you will be crying. So when we think about,
how about rebirth? Make the birth the big word, rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Love it.
I think you should add this into your clubhouse, your Sunday clubhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Lori, before I forget, can you tell everyone about the clubhouse, what time it is, and what the name of your room is?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So it is at 9:00 Central Standard Time, 10:00 for the East Coast. The group is called Single Over 50. It's an inside job. And Meg is one of the panel of experts who is going to be putting their nuggets in, and we're going to be discussing how great it is to be over 50 and single, and having the opportunity to rebuild your life and to find who you are and do that work and peel those layers back and find out what it is that gives you so much happiness. And when you're settled in yourself and happy with yourself, then you can start that whole vibrational transformation of potentially drawing someone into your world. It's really embracing being single, because it's a wonderful thing. I had outlined would you rather be single and happy or be in a relationship that you feel like you have an anchor around your ankle, that doesn't fulfill you any longer? So it is 9 o'clock, single over 50. It's an inside job.
I love that title. It's an inside job. That's great.
Yeah.
And it is fun to be over 50. I didn't get there yet. No, I'm kidding. Haha. No.
There, Dr. Jack, I'm 39.
I'll be 58 next month. And, I'm having the best time ever in lockdown with my mom. Like it's fabulous. Like I know all the horrible things that have happened. A lot of people lost people and lost their business. But I do know that a lot of good things have come out of it. And I'm hoping that people can find some positives in their life. And being 50 and over and single is phenomenal, I think. It really is.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about people who are watching and listening on Business Talk Radio who realize that they're not happy with where they are, who they are. And they hire someone, they hire a coach, they're working with someone, but they don't really want to do the work. Have you ever seen this before? It's like, do you have a magic wand that you can wave and I'll just pay you and please make it all go away? So how do you help a person like that? Let's start with you, Meg.
I think that a lot of times that type of person presents themselves really clearly up front. And in that case, and it's a blessing, I think, for both parties, in that case, it's probably not a good vibrational match. And that's not a knock on the potential client or the potential coach at all. It's just that, that coach's approach in requiring their client to, do the work and to show up fully and to invest energy and effort. If the client isn't willing to do that, then it's really not a good fit. That's not a good partnership because both are going to be frustrated. The client is looking for the quick fix. The coach is looking for somebody who's willing to do the work. And so, they're not able to kind of come together harmoniously there. I think for, the clients who are willing to do the work, but hit a rough spot, which happens to the best of us, coaches and clients alike, it can be really tempting to kind of go down that rabbit hole. Well, now everything is ruined. Any progress I've made is negated by this. I'm throwing all of the inner work and all the investment that I've made in myself out the window because one thing has happened and now I just feel like I'm sliding backwards. But I think the empowering way to potentially look at when that happens is that you're not the same person you were before. So even if a situation repeats itself, or even if, you find that you're struggling with the same thing, or, an issue or a thought or a belief that you thought you had kind of like uncovered and really put to bed and resolved is back, you're in a totally different place because you know so much more now. You've got all these new experiences. You hopefully, in working with a coach, have a lot more tools that you can pull from to say, okay, maybe I've been here before, but I'm going to try this approach. And one thing too that I think is helpful, and I think there's a part of the wellness community that is completely positive focused. And there is a place for that for sure. But if you've got, struggles or emotions that are unpleasant that are coming up, it's not helpful to, bury your head in the sand and only focus on the good. There's a place to focus on the good for sure. And that's going to help you deal with what's coming up that maybe is not so good. But I think those emotions are coming up to come out. So if we've got feelings, if we've got experiences, if we have emotions and thoughts that are coming up that are making us feel like, I cannot do this, I need somebody to wave the magic wand and make it all go away, there is opportunity there to dig in and explore and to feel those emotions. And, then to look at, okay, I've got this emotion that's coming up. Can I, feel it in my body? And then can I tune in and notice mentally, what is the story that I'm attaching to that emotion or situation? Because often it's the story that's keeping us stuck. It's not the emotion. It's not that we're not willing or even able to do the inner work. It's that, we've got an old tale that is keeping us hostage and causing us to basically like relive something over and over and over again. And I think, another point, when the relationship is a good one, when the coach and the client are, in alignment from an energetic standpoint and all other standpoints too, that coach can serve as a motivator. Hopefully they've done some uncovering together to figure out, okay, what's the contingency plan, when you're not able to honor your intention or when you don't feel like showing up fully, what are we going to pull from?
Brilliant.
Thank you.
What do we say here?
Nothing left to say on that either. Oh my gosh, Meg, I have to put your contact information up again. Everyone should be contacting Meg, okay?
Everyone.
Right now, go to her website. Meg, can you tell us your contact information for people listening on the radio?
Yes, absolutely. My website is my name, megburtontudman.com, megburtontudman.com.
And tell us about the workshop on Sunday.
Sure. Coming up this Sunday is the first in a series of energy workshops, energy reset workshops, and we'll be focused on breath work, meditation, yoga, and Reiki. A great way to reset your energy, to feel grounded and secure. And something too, Jacalyn, your last question reminded me of, and we'll be doing a bit of this on Sunday too at my workshop, is I treat all of this like an experiment. So let's try. What happens if I meditate this way? What happens if I, take care of myself in that way? And let everything that you're trying be an experiment, because you can always go back to the other way that you were doing it. But if you take a little bit of the pressure off, this may work, it may not. I may like it, I may not, but I'm going to give it an honest shot and I'm going to see, okay, if I invest energy and time in this particular conscious action, how do I feel? Because best case scenario, you feel amazing. Your energy is reset, you're showing up fully like the superstar that you are. And so I think there's freedom there to say, I'll give myself the opportunity to try it, but if it doesn't work for me, I don't have to hang on to it. I can let it go and call it back if I want, or I can let it go forever. And to know that, your self-care practice, your self-protection practice, the way that you show up and nurture yourself and reset your mindset, your energy, and everything else that you have within you and around you, all of that can be customized so that it works for you and it can look totally different. So what I do may be completely different from what Lori does, maybe completely different than what Dr. Jacalyn does. And that's exactly how it should be. I don't think there's a one size fits all, which is probably why there is no magic wand that as coaches we can wave, right? Because what works for one person is going to be different than what works for another.
Yeah.
Bravo, bravo.
Let me piggyback on that. I think, Meg, it is so important to give yourself permission to experiment and to see how that new pair of shoes feels. And if it doesn't feel so good, you can return them. You can go back to the old pair that's painful, which a lot of people do because they're just more comfortable and unwilling to change and afraid of change, really fearful of change, because change is very frightening for many people. It's easier to hold on to those ways it didn't work. But I know that Shonda Rhimes years ago, she said for a year, any invitation that she got, she was going to say yes to. I mean, not every single one, you know what I mean? But she got to experience things that were so out of her comfort zone that she really grew personally, and from growing personally, she grew professionally. Mm-hmm. So I think that if we can just say, what is the worst case scenario if I allow myself to grow and I put those old voices in my head down and try this. I don't have to embrace it, but at least try it. See how it feels. we have so much to learn and grow from that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And by the way, just to tag on that, not only the voices that we hear, but the voices around us who are telling us, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. So and we're at the top of the show, believe it or not, but one quick thing. So before I left my corporate career, which I did last year in February, I worked with a coach. I worked with her for 9 months, and we put together plan A, B, and C. And that, knowing that I had that plan, knowing how determined and committed I was, I knew I was going to be all right. But I got to between B and C. I was like B negative, B minus, and so but you can do it if you plan and you believe in yourself. And I truly believe in the power of coaches. And that being said, what I love about coaches is we all get along. I don't care who it is. Coaches want to help other coaches. We learn from each other. And I just think that everybody should look into working with a coach in some aspect of their life.
Hear, hear.
Yes.
So that's the end of our show. Any final words, Meg? I'll spotlight you. I'm going to play your I'm going to run your banner. But any final words for you?
I think that we have all of the power we need. We have everything within us that we need. And it is so often our mindset, or to Dr. Jacalyn's point, the outer voices that we're letting in that are causing us to play small and to not show up fully. And if we can create awareness around that, if we can give ourselves permission to test and learn so that we can rebirth ourselves, and so that we can then start to make different conscious choices, like I said before, I think we are unstoppable. And I think that we all have that in us. We may need support from a coach or someone else to help draw that out, but it is absolutely possible for everybody.
And guess what? I think if they take your energy reset workshop, they might have the glow that you have. Do you know what I mean? They're going to get that glow from working with you.
Thank you.
I hope people will reach out. Thank you again for being here, Meg. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here.
We'll see you backstage. Lori, fantastic guest that you brought us. I can see being good friends with Meg. She is a sweetheart. So thank you for bringing her with us. Let's spotlight you and give your contact information and who should be reaching out to you and what is the value that you bring, Lori.
Okay. My company is smartfunnysingle.com. I am a dating coach, and I really focus on people who are over 50 and are single, who have been through divorce, who have raised children, and who are ready to enjoy the other half of their life. My expertise is actually deeply getting to know people, and then determining if I can help you or if my group of healers, like someone like Meg, should get involved to help you release the blocks that you've had and stop listening to the outer voices and stop listening to the inner voices, so you can become that person who you want to attract, because you need to be that person first before you can attract me. So that's what my specialty is. And I'm in the trenches too. I'm dating, and I know what it's like, and I know that there's some pretty scary things going on out there. So I'm your dating ally and your dating partner.
Woo! The Friday night dating ally. I love it. Woo! Thank you so much, Lori. I'll be backstage in just a moment, and another great show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jacalyn.
And thank you, everyone, for watching our shows today. I always want to remind you that we have our other platform, A Better You, which are lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. This is a platform where those folks who are experts give 15-minute lessons that we can learn something to be better, be a better you personally or professionally. We are also in the process of designing our Better You Symposium and Trade Show. Yay! It's going to be in person in the fall of 2022. We're expecting 10,000 coaches, consultants, trusted advisors, HR professionals, and people who provide services to all of the above. So we look forward to sending out the early bird special and having you join us at a fabulous destination. Stay tuned for that. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Thanks again for being here. Take care.